I have a problem, and you get to know why I have this problem. And the World Bank for Eden Krata Babetuja. Now, World Bank for someone wa more catch Ghana for Nina and say President Akufo Addo, Emra no what so COVID-19 excuse our maye Russian-Ukraine war excuse no woman in an World Bank for say na eyembogu almost say answer na President Akufo Addo war can COVID-19 Russia-Ukraine war intia na Ghana yenya economic crisis up to now wo mugusu kano World Bank say sansem na yentro and no mutwa Ghana for. We are going to read the story as reported by My Joy Online and you are seeing on your screen. By answering your better on the message, and your first time and subscribing and click the notification bell on so. We understand latest news be about one sa ebeka. Now, in the comments box, there is a link. It is a link to a book. Now, obibia utiemia wefu eyekese. Mr. The best thing you can do for yourself is to learn how wefu no esobete. Na eyenyama miensa enkrofo bebre are spending thousands of Ghana cedis ato idro in the name of stomach slimming tea. Enyehe se idro no obe noma enyehe. Otse 100 cedis pe. Now the top book na e comment box ni mo. En kan tell say kofe idro e bet show enuane bia wo se wudi. Enuane bia wo se wujaidi. Time e wo se wudidi. Na exercises bia wo se wo ye nyama miensa we na me se autobook ni wie na 1 month se wefu enko form a bra ye de osika bema. Yes, intino that is that. Now young concept ni mo so open book no ato link na comment box ni mo and say number na o screen is no 0558074986 free and WhatsApp yen ye be book na ma and ye be ni video ama na che se wahwe what you say. Now see World Bank rejects Akufo Addo's government's COVID-19 Russia-Ukraine war defense for 2022 economic crisis. Now let's read it. Also, the World Bank has dismissed the Akufo Addo administration's long-standing claim that Ghana's 2022 economic collapse was driven by global shocks, stating instead that the crisis was fundamentally self-inflicted. And you see, I'm not surprised. This is something we've all said on this platform, and it's something we've all said. Every single expert has said this. Say President Akufo Addo nsemu awoka say ani ene say ni say eyentro. World Bank say eyentro. I say eye self-inflicted. Yen ne de buy so. I say in its 2025 policy notes on Ghana, the bank was unequivocal. The deterioration of global conditions due to COVID-19 pandemic and the Russian Federation's invasion of Ukraine was not the cause of the 2022 macroeconomic crisis. Rather, it merely exposed an economy already beset with deep structural vulnerabilities and precarious macroeconomic conditions. I say, for years, government officials have attributed the severity of the downturn marked by surging inflation, a free-falling currency, and eventual debt default to external factors. The World Bank, however, argues that domestic policy failures were decisive. World Bank say policies are President Akufo Addo implementing in a failure. It points to weak governance. World Bank say weak governance. Amemu a emu omre emu oha. In Akufo Addo babebu Ghana. Fiscal indiscipline. Akufo Addo nya discipline na aban no. Enye sika no say yes penia adie ni kwanse ye di sika no ye ne ye de ye. And delayed reforms. Observing that easy access to capital market and expectations of natural resource windfalls fostered political short-termism, undermined accountability, and weakened the social contract. The report highlights a recurring pattern of fiscal expansion followed by painful corrections, a cycle that has driven Ghana into 17 separate IMF programs over the past 68 years. As a sudden macroeconomic stops and crisis have led the country to request a record number of IMF programs, remaining under active IMF support for 40 out of its 68 years of history, the bank noted. You see, this country is a failure. And that's the truth. The country Ghana is a failure. But one thing about failing is that the earlier you fail, the better you become successful. Or the earlier you fail, the earlier you become successful. Ghana, as it looks, or as our state, no, a failure, but it doesn't mean it is the end. All we have to do is to learn from our failures. And we'll become successful. World Bank and someone can say, Ghana, we have existed as a country for 68 years. Ghana, you did 68 years. Now, 68 na ye di no. Emu 40. IMF one ne koye. Inti emu 28 pe. Na tre say Ghana ye nipa. Nanki ye nipa bi a ye di 68. Nanso 68 na ye di no. For 40 years, ya wofo na hwe yen sa ya ne ntumi nhwe ye ho. Ya wofo na hwe yen sa for 40 good years out of the 68. Obi a with the 68 for 40 years out of the 68 wa wofo na hwe wo sa wontumi anhwe wo ho entumi anto eduane ama wo ho e wa wofo na hwe wo. Sani America no, we are a failure, but it doesn't mean that we can't do anything about it. But this is a wild statistics. I'm not going to lie. It shows you how governments in, governments out, we failed out. We've really failed ourselves. I mean, out of 68 years, we've gone to the IMF for 40 years just because we weren't disciplined. You see, the funny thing is that politicians are wamudi yesunina. Politicians are wamudi yesunina. They know. Politicians say di yesunina. They know. Say obi biara wo pese wodani sikeni bia. The number one thing is self-discipline. They know. They've used it for themselves and they've become wealthy. But once omo belidi o maina no more to sadi nego, and I simply don't understand. Eyade bia menti asie da na menti asie nso da. Listen, read every single book on building wealth. Let me show you books on building wealth. Read every single book on wealth building, right? Every single book. The Psychology of Money. Read this book. Okay? The Psychology of Money. Read this book. Simple Wealth. Is it Simple Wealth? Maybe. Read this book. I'll teach you how to be rich. Okay? Read this book. Read The Simple Path to Wealth. Read this book. The Simple Path to Wealth. Listen. Read every single book. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Read every single book on wealth building on earth. Every single book I will read here. One common factor is self-discipline. What they all tell you, and they say, if you are not disciplined with your spending, you are never going to be able to build wealth. If you always spend more than what you get, you are never going to build wealth. Read this book, The Baby Steps. By Dave Ramsey. The Baby Steps by Dave Ramsey. Ushe book na the price close to 200 cedis. Tax income. But read the book. The Baby Steps by Dave Ramsey. It will tell you Okay? Pay off all debts. Say, o pese odani sikenia. One thing. Once you spend more than the amount of money you make, you are never going to be able to build wealth. Into when him say, sika wunya wo wiase mu after a month, 10,000 cedis. Men kwanko ye nyama ebema was spending more than 10,000 cedis in a month. The first thing you do is that, say unya 10,000 cedis, at least, books be beka say at least, o dear watres wa mawo expenses indru ebia 7,000. And then 30%, you know, which is 3,000 cedis, you know, for two baby pa. That is how you build wealth gradually. For the fact that for our 68 years, we've gone to IMF for 40 years, it tells you that for those 40 years, we were not able to sustain ourselves. Because the only reason why you go to IMF and they say, Oko Bobosia, went to me and sustain you, Sika Unya Nanson, into Kojibia Babekao. Basically, that is what you do at IMF. International for 68 years, for 40 years, we have not been disciplined in our spending. But in Penyufwe, they know this. Every single financial person knows this. That once you spend more than the money you get, there is no way you are going to build wealth. There is no way you'll be financially successful. It is as simple as that. So when you're 200 cedis at the end of every month, now at the end of every month, be I was spending 300 cedis. Undi ye. Simple. Even if you make 1 million Ghana cedis, 10 million Ghana cedis, $1 million at the end of every month. Now at the end of the month, no, was spending more than $1 million. Now, you are not financially dependent. You are not financially independent. Ahotreba utiati. So the truth behind everything, the truth behind wealth building, everything, you spend less than what you make. It's as simple as that. It is as simple as that. If you don't understand this simple logic, then I am sorry. Seriously, I am sorry. So this is a very wild record that for 68 years, we've gone to the IMF for 40 years out of these 68 years. Hey! And we are not ashamed as a country. I say the human cost has been severe. The bank estimates that the 2022 crisis and its aftermath pushed more than 800,000 Ghanaians into... You see, for some of us, you can say, we will always remember President Akufo Addo as the worst president Ghana had. And you say, be a time MPP into you. And you say, be a MPP as a into you. You see, MPP pushed, President Akufo Addo pushed over 800,000 Ghanaians into poverty. And no, World Bank and the Wamokano. President Akufo Addo now bank pushi 800,000 Ghanaians into poverty. Won't try to imagine your comment box, Nemo. That's it.